Hello, and welcome to the Monster Painter. And this week, Dave is back, and he's brought the AAT Attack game, which he bought for a lousy $4 from a pawn shop. That's right, Dave has brought over what is tantamount to a rubbishy children's toy. I mean, we both play board games, and while Dave will play anything with a science fiction theme, I usually don't play elaborate strategy games about the Industrial Revolution. Neither of us are inclined to play a dexterity game for children. So, if you are hoping for a thoughtful game of tactical combat that immerses you in the Star Wars universe, well, you had better be a 7-year-old. If, on the other hand, you're a grouchy old grognard, then you know Dave and I are going to raid this thing for every little useful bit. So, what do we get in the AAT Attack game? Well, there are some cards. They have nice illustrations, but they're not going to be much use once the game is broken up. I have a box of derelict game cards, so they're going to end up in there. Then we have the super ugly game board itself. I can't see any use for it, so it's heading into the recycling bin. Now, on the other hand, there are these terrain parts. Cardboard obstructions with plastic bases that clip into that super ugly game board. These have some potential, so let's see what I can do with them. We also get a couple of Jedi standees. Not much use for them, so they will end up in my box of standees. On the other hand, there are no less than 4 of these clone troopers in this game. They are a pretty good scale compared to clone troopers from the old Star Wars miniatures game, and they may be a little smaller in terms of Star Wars Legion, but mounting them on a standard base will solve that no problem. These lads are basically good to go for tabletop gaming. And then there are the dice. And they're not bad dice, so they will end up on the big pile of dice, obviously. Now on to the star of the show, the feature part of the board game and the very reason for this video, the in-scale hover tank itself. A toy destined to become a tabletop wargaming model, the AAT. It's going to need some work, but it's going to be great. But first, let us give this game its due. Take it away, Dave.
We are going to try to destroy the AAT. We are clone troopers, protecting ourselves by these obstructing terrain.
Okay.
And these Jedis can come into play and help block the firing AAT, which actually does fire by pressing the button.
Okay, very good.
It will physically knock over your trooper, and if your trooper gets knocked over, you go back to your starting space. You start there, I start here, and well, that's the basics of the game.
Okay, let's get going.
And then I draw a card. Fire the AAT into any blue sector. And I guess that's it.
Right.
I didn't get you.
Okay. Fire.
Into your choice.
Oh, into my choice? Jedi protection.
Oh, good timing. So we're looking for the thermo detonator card.
We gotta find the card first?
Yeah, you gotta find the card. It's one of these here. That's it. Draw.
Thermal detonator.
I got the thermal detonator. That means to draw again.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's pretty vulnerable, but let's see. Fire! Fire the AT-AT into any yellow sector. Let's see if I can get a wicked bank shot. Nope. No wicked bank shot. Oh, I got a thermal detonator too!
Okay, so yeah, you get to go again. Roll the die and move.
5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I got a Jedi protecting me, and do I draw another card?
Yeah, so you do a whole other turn before.
I got a thermal detonator. I'm like decked.
I guess you just discard it now.
Maybe.
It says put the card back in the deck. So show what to shuffle up and back. However, you're going to play this card once you've landed in a space that's adjacent to AAT. As far as I know, when you land in a space that's adjacent to AAT and you have a thermal detonator card, you win.
That's the game?
That's the game.
Wow.
Push the red detonation button directly under the AAT turret to destroy the tank. Kapow, you win.
That really sucked, Dave. Wow.
Well, some more interesting flavor. Good work, Trooper. Now to the next quadrant. There are reports of spider droids moving in, and they look like they're ready for a fight. Let's win another one for the Republic. Charge!
Okay, well, what the hell was that, Dave? That was a crappy game.
Yeah, it's not much of a game, but the miniatures are nice.
Right. Yeah, the AAT.
The AAT. So back when I played Star Wars miniatures, they never did actually come out with one of these, and it's in scale.
Ah.
So I didn't buy it back in the day when I saw it in a Toys R Us because it was probably a good $35 or something.
Right.
But to find it for $4 years later, it was very worth it to have this now to proxy and make my own cards. And
oh, you're going to make a card for it?
Yeah, I'll do something for it.
And you're going to let the monster painter turn it into a proper tabletop miniature?
Right. It still looks like a toy.
Okay.
It's got the little gun and the release, and so there's stuff and there's lots of bolts and stuff. It's got to be.
Don't worry, I'll take
fixed
care of
up.
all of that. That sounds like fun. Okay. Well, that's at least worth whatever it was, $4.
$4, which is it's impossible to find this thing, and there's nothing on the internet about it, really, not much. So to found it randomly one day, I was very happy.
Right. Well, there you go.
Okay, enough of that. Time to get at the recrafting of this crappy old game. And I will be starting with the barricades. The first step is simple. To remove the little tabs on the plastic bases, these are the parts that attached the barricades to that super ugly game board. With them removed, they will sit flush on the tabletop and start looking like more credible terrain. The next step is to scuff up the cardstock. These things are printed on a heavy, glossy board, and they are way too shiny for my liking. So I'm going to take some sandpaper and get rid of all that shininess. Once that is done, I will reassemble these little barricades and add a wash of ivory black. This will help cut down the intensity of that bright green they are printed with. It will kill whatever lingering shininess they possess. And I'm going to pay special attention to the top edge of the cardstock with the intent of painting out that cardboard paper look and giving them a nice dark edge. Hopefully this will make them look a little more credible as tabletop terrain. After the black wash has completely dried, I will apply a coat of clear acrylic gesso to the plastic bases. This will let me use the plastic's dark gray color as a base coat, and will help the paint stick to the models when I do the next step, which is to add a dry brush layer of a dull, lighter green to the plastic bases. I can't remember what the mixture is, but it's a dull, light green. This will bring out the texture on the bases and will help make them look more credible as tabletop terrain. And with that, they're all finished up. They look like reasonable bits of scatter terrain, nothing bespoke, but still credible enough to proudly hit the tabletop in the right setting. And now, on to the star of the show. And here it is, 9 minutes into the video, and I am going to finally get to work on our star, the AAT hover tank. Obviously, there are some problems I'm going to have to take care of, but the first step is to scuff up all this plastic with some sandpaper. This will help the primer adhere, and it's going to help move the model along on its weathering journey. Next, I'm going to use a little screwdriver to take the whole thing apart and remove the components for the firing mechanism. This is a significant step in making the thing look less like a toy and more like a suitable piece of tabletop terrain. Unsurprisingly, the next step is to put the thing back together. I have stuffed some of the cavities with foil. This will help with the putty in the following step. Otherwise, it's just a simple matter of applying super glue and reassembling all the parts. Now that it's all put back together, I will attach the model onto this base that Dave has crafted for the purpose. It's built out of a couple of derelict CD cases and is very well suited for the purpose. This will really help make the toy look like a wargaming miniature. As well, I will be stuffing all the gaps that house the screws that held the thing together, as well as the holes which house the firing mechanism, with aluminum foil. This will fill up those holes and will be very helpful in the next step when we apply the mill put. I have mixed up some mill put and it's time to fill in those holes. This can be a tricky and time-consuming process, but I feel it is crucial. The screw holes and gaps really make a model look like a toy, and filling them in is a significant step in making this toy look like a tabletop model. I will use some care as I do this, because the better the holes are disguised, the more effective the transformation will be. I'm using a sculpting tool, a little water, and a lot of patience in order to do as good a job as possible. There are some really tricky spots on this model, and they require a little bit of sculpting and a lot of patience to get done right, and it's really important to get it done right. Alright, the last step in this model's reassembly is to glue the turret on and to glue the base onto the thing. A little bit of super glue, and it's a nice, easy step to finish. Alright then, she's all put together and puttied up, ready to be painted. And you know what they say, excess putty is the devil's playground, so I used the destruct button from underneath the toy and the extra putty to make a little barricade. And here are the pair all primed up with acrylic gesso and ready to get painted. And here's our AAT with a nice thorough base coat of wrought iron, a cool dark craft paint. She is really starting to look like a tabletop miniature. Finally, we're on to the fun part. The first layer of paint will be a simple all-over dry brushing of a dark gray mixture of Mars Black and unbleached titanium. This will start bringing out the forms of the model, and it's our first step. I will follow up that layer of dry brushing with 2 more layers of dry brushing, both with progressively lighter shades of Mars Black and unbleached titanium. This is going to help bring out the forms and structures of the model, as well as give it a weathered, battle-worn look, which is what I'm going for with this weathered, battle-worn old tank. On to the next step. I will be adding a pale, low-key mixture of cerulean blue, unbleached titanium with a drop of Mars Black in it. This color will give the model a sun-bleached, weathered look that you would expect from a hover tank that's been out in the field for a long time. I am largely sticking to the original color scheme because it seems to work well, and it has a really nice Star Wars feel to it, which is very appropriate for the model. The AAT stands for Armored Assault Tank, and it was primarily used by the Trade Federation and the Confederation of Independent States before the rise of the Empire. It makes its first appearance in The Phantom Menace and is featured in a variety of Star Wars video games and comic books, and plays a significant role in the animated series Star Wars: The Clone Wars. And it's generally a common tactical asset during that period in the Star Wars historic arch. Dave will be using it in his games of Star Wars miniatures because an official model was never released for that game, and so why not? Now on to the penultimate step in our AT-AT process. and that is to add a layer of Mars Black to all the guns on the model. This will help it look like a credible tank when it's on the tabletop. As well, I will be painting all the missile tube openings along the bottom with the same Mars Black. In this instance, the flat black will give the impression of a hole from which you could launch missiles. At long last, it's time for the final step, which as usual will be a thin black wash of ivory black. I'm going to apply it mostly to the blue parts of the model, as well as in any areas where I want to bring out the details. The overall effect will be to make our AAT look like a battle-worn hover tank that has spent an awful lot of time in the field. Beaten up and grungy, that's what we're going for. After the black wash, I will paint the base with graphite gray and call the project done. Now, let's look at the final product. So here she is in the round, and she definitely looks like a hover tank to me. Let's see her in her natural habitat.
I'm going inside to apply for a small business loan. You stay out here and watch the AAT. Got that?
Roger. Hey you! You look like one of the droids we're looking for! Go back here!
Oh, you totally missed.
Shut up.
Remember to like,
Comment, subscribe,
and ring the bell. Ring the bell!
You are watching Les the Monster Painter.